What's going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And on this particular installment, we are going to be looking at 3 Yankees that find themselves on the hot seat in 2022. But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already done so, you smash that subscribe button, as it does a huge service for us in continuing to grow this community. Let all of your baseball friends know that this is the channel to watch in 2022. And keep it locked in all the way to the end to find out how you can get Baseball Banter Broadcast merchandise. Let's get into it. Now, as we look at the 2022 season, this is going to be a make or break year for several different players on the New York Yankees, but also for the Yankees themselves. And I think that these 3 players are going to be a pivotal role in how the Yankees succeed or fail in 2022. So we begin with that of Aaron Hicks. Now, the switch hitter has been arguably one of the best in the game at that position when healthy. The problem is with Aaron Hicks is that he's never healthy. After receiving an extension from the New York Yankees, this player has failed to be able to play consistently on the field. Playing in just 32 games in the 2021 with an OPS plus of 73, league average being 100, this is going to be a serious year for Aaron Hicks to prove that he can stay healthy. Otherwise, the New York Yankees are going to have to position and likely move Aaron Hicks off of the starting center field job. I also think that he's going to have to compete and prove that if we ever get a spring training following this lockout. This is going to be a serious year for Aaron Hicks to prove his health and his worth to the New York Yankees. Now, the second player on my list is that of Glaber Torres. Glaber has already been moved off of the shortstop position. Thankfully, that experiment seems to be over. As painful as it was to watch him at shortstop, he is a much better defender, in my opinion, at second base. I think that going back to second base is going to allow Glaber to get back to a head-clearing space, a position where he'll have more time to be able to make better throws to first base to get runners out. I also think that by moving back to second base, he has less to think about, and this will ultimately help his offensive game. I also think that by having Glaber go back to second base, this is going to be a way for the Yankees to position themselves in a better spot for a prime shortstop. I don't think that Glaber had the necessary footwork to be able to make himself stick at the position of short. At second base, he has much more time to be able to make those decisions defensively. I also think this is going to allow his offense to come back to some semblance of normalcy. Having a OPS plus of 93 in the 2021 season is not what you want, to quote Joe Girardi, going into a year where the Yankees are going to try to be competing and contending for a World Series championship. But if he can get back to being the player that we saw a few years ago, while he was playing second base when the Yankees had Didi Gregorius, this is going to be a player that the Yankees will find much more valuable. If he is unable to do that, the Yankees may have to start looking to part ways with a player like Glaber Torres. As much as that would pain the organization, as he was one of the highly touted prospects that they received back during the fire sale of 2016, this is going to be a player that they may have to cut ties with to get the best from the organization. We already have DJ LeMahieu signed for the next several years, and even though Glaber will not be a free agent until 2025, if he's unable to match the success that he had a couple of seasons ago, this is going to be a player that we may have to move on from. The Yankees are already looking at 2 top-tier shortstop prospects waiting in the wings in Anthony Volpe and Oswaldo Peraza, so one of them could easily be switched off to become the second baseman of the future, leaving the Yankees and Glaber Torres able to find him a new team. Now, the number 1 player, in my opinion, that is in the hot seat the most for the New York Yankees is Gary Sanchez. I don't think that it's a surprise to any Yankee fan to hear that. I think Gary is at the most pressure that he's going to have to face in his young career. Going into this season, the Yankees are going to have to figure out what to do with their catching position, whether they have the personal catcher situation of Kyle Higashioka and Garrett Cole, or whether Gary Sanchez can earn back that trust of your ace, your $324 million ace, and get back to being the everyday catcher for the New York Yankees. The Yankees cannot go into 2022 with another personal catcher situation, especially given the lack of offense that Kyle Higashioka has. Gary has not been the greatest offensive threat either, and that coupled with his lapses on defense, can make this a very, very important season for Gary Sanchez as well as the New York Yankees. There have been several opportunities for Gary to kind of prove himself and get back to being the offensive threat that we saw him be several years ago. But if he's unable to do that, the Yankees are going to have to find themselves a new backstop. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your feelings on this down in the comment section below. What are your feelings as to these three particular players, or is there another player on this squad that is more on the hot seat in 2022? Let me know that down in the comment section below, and we'll continue the discussion. Thank you for sticking around all the way to this part of the video. To be able to get your Baseball Banter Broadcast merchandise, head over to baseballbanterbroadcast.com. Use the promo code BANTER for 5% off your order. The Yankees are going to find themselves in a very dire situation if they falter yet again this year, and especially these three particular players. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Keep it locked in here to the Baseball Banter Broadcast as I continue to bring you the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions on the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.